Myriam, welcome to the Democratizing SEO podcast. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing great. I'm by the beach with beautiful.
That's awesome. It's not too bad here in London. It's not quite grey, but not very sunny either. So it's just bland.
Um, I've been a digital nomad for now more than 2 years, and I can honestly say that the sunshine makes a big difference in my life. I
hmm
used to be in Canada. It gets
Ah,
cold and dreary.
yeah, yeah. I used to live in Bournemouth, so literally by the beach, and every Sunday I used to just enjoy going for a walk or ride on a bike down the beach. It makes so much difference to one's life, doesn't it? Even if it's a thing of working outside where it's sunny, it makes a big difference.
And for me, this is a great segue into our topic because one of the things that I love, I'm currently in Portugal, is that there are beach tractors here.
Hmm.
People are organized. They will go and collect the trash, like the big trash cans, with tractors. There's like a whole ecosystem on that beach of different types of vehicles coming and going, and I love watching it and trying to figure out, okay, what's the process here? Like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, you're doing it this way with a giant tractor. I'm in it. I love it.
Yes, I see you're very much process driven, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to speak with you today on the podcast. Now, we're going to talk about SEO processes. And just before we get into that topic, I usually like asking my guests how they became an SEO, because I find that very interesting. Everyone has their own routes into becoming an SEO. So please tell me how you became an SEO professional.
So, the older you are as an SEO, the more colorful the anecdote will probably be. Because when I got started more than 15 years ago, there was no diploma. I mean, people didn't even understand what my job was. My first landlord in Canada called the HR not to validate that I had a job, but to go, is this a real job? I can't believe this is a real job. So it was quite a love affair for me because I got my first internet connection in 1997. I was rather young. I should not have been let loose on the internet, but I was. And I was around before Google came around, so you can imagine that finding things was rather complicated.
hmm
And one of the jokes, but it's a true anecdote. As a child, I could type anything into the search bar and it would most likely return porn. That was the internet back then. I remember I looked for a washing machine, I looked for toys, it doesn't matter. The internet was porn. So you can imagine that creating my own little website, I was like, why is it not showing up? Why can't people find it? I'm amazing. So I tried to figure out how things were working, and this became a fixation for me. It became a special interest. And my life moved continued doing this, but it was a hobby. And then I went to university. I graduated with a shiny degree in sociology, another one in communications, and there was no job. It was complicated to find a job.
Yeah.
I mean, the marketing jobs were plum. You couldn't just get that. You had to have connections. And I turned around and I realized my hobby is actually a job, a well-paying job, a misunderstood job. And as soon as I got my first internship, I was like, listen, I've been doing this thing on the side and I'm going to do it for you now. And that's going to be my job. And since nobody understood it, they were like, you do the web thing. Go for it. Enjoy yourself. And it really evolved. So I say this because when I first got into it, communication, sociology, I was in it for the content. I really enjoyed writing. I had my own little blog, it was great. But back then, nobody paid for content. because people used to copy paste content from different websites and
Yeah.
rank with the stolen content.
Mm-hmm.
So I got fed up with clients removing all the keywords from my content. So I'm just going to do a little parentheses. This is not necessarily a process, but it helps. Back in the day, I used to put the words in bold or in red, and I would tell the client, you can do whatever you want with the content. You are not messing with those words. You don't remove them. I don't care if you don't like them. You don't touch them.
Right.
So great client feedback communication.
Mm-hmm.
And I got into technical SEO. I got into technical SEO because this is where I could make a difference instead of dealing with copy paste specialists. So we all have an origin story where you get into it for a good reason. So not just because it's a job. And then you migrate, you do different things. So I became known as a technical SEO. I worked in a lot of development centers. So that was a very, very different experience. So I'm sharing this because I know a lot of people are scared about technical SEO, and some folks may see me as like a primarily technical driven individual. No, I'm very human centric, and my beginnings were in content.
Interesting. You mentioned content and also technical. It's rare that you find someone, an SEO, who's got an interest in both. Do you prefer one to the other, or are both equally interesting to you?
Um, I have I have a question. Can I swear here or no?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. I have a very low tolerance for bullshit. I am allergic to mediocrity. So you can imagine that the way I think about things is going to be very different.
Hmm.
And for me, I found bullshit on both sides. So that's what I find interesting. So think of SEO more as DNA. Okay. So you can have an earthworm or an octopus. They have the same DNA set up. Okay. That's as far as you can stretch DNA. So if you think of SEO in terms of like what you can do with content, you can do with technical, what you can do with promotion and branding, these are all levers that you can push in the DNA. That doesn't mean that you can overcome specific obstacles, but it means that you can stretch things very far and be very creative with it. So I was never the type of individual to go, oh, well, we're stuck. That's why my SEO sucks. Let me see who I can talk to overcome certain things. So sometimes you will have a content problem that is caused by a technical issue, or you will have a technical issue that can be overcome with content.
Yeah.
So for me, this is how I think of it. And I know that the whole sociological study of the internet, like I had history of the internet courses. I mean, my background in terms of academic path is very well aligned to what I do. And finding an SEO that actually understands this from, and I hate that term, but from a holistic standpoint, because it's been bastardized, huh? But
Yeah.
there is a genuine sociological movement that aim to look at society as like from a holistic point of view, that the total is bigger than the sum of the parts. So bringing together your SEO strategy by considering all these elements will give you something that is a brand new starting point. It's not just working in silos. So with this in mind, if you find individuals that think of SEO this way, as a genuine, okay, we have an ecosystem, you are going to go a lot further. And of course, you're going to end up with processes. Of course, you're going to end up with a framework, because if you do this long enough, you see the patterns. You're like, we're going to run into this problem.
Mm-hmm. So do you think the way you think about SEO it's quite unique? Getting the sense that it's actually very, very unique in the industry. Do you think it served you very well into having processes in place? And the reason, in fact, let me backtrack and mention the reason why I asked this is because I find that SEOs who have processes in place or very much process driven tend to look at SEO in they look at SEO more than solving issues that's been caused. With SEO, when you're solving issues, the issues have to occur first. Whereas someone who's more process driven can, as you indicated, spot the issues before they occur. And that way they can have things in place that will address it so they are not issues in the first place. And to me, that's the best sort of SEO, because it's not just waiting for something to happen and then solving it. It's to actually look at an organization and say, this team, this team, this team, everyone who has an impact or who can impact the website can impact SEO. So we need to do X, Y, and Z to prevent that from happening. So how is the way you think, how would you say it helps you with SEO and processes?
So first I have to explain where it comes from. Because when you are a junior, you listen to things, and I used to do the same thing. I still remember this. I refuse to fall for the curse of knowledge where you forget what you learned. You just get there and you're trying to communicate to people, and you're talking at a level where a junior or an intermediate SEO will listen to this podcast and go, yeah, but what's the actionable takeaway? Like, what can I do in my day to day? I love the fact that you're up on this pedestal talking to me about these like theoretical best practices, but that doesn't change my day. So let's take it back. I've been doing this for a long time. So when you get started, you want to do all the things. You want to do all the things. Like, you want to be the best SEO. You don't care about the dev team. You don't care about the content team. You don't care about the PR. They don't matter, because SEO is number one. SEO is what you eat, live, breathe, think about in the shower. And the problem with this is that you are burning through a lot of goodwill, because you're coming with this giant list and you're telling people you have to do this, 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 this. And then they come to you with questions and you're like, here's the official documentation. And then they implement it wrong. And then you're like, well, you have to redo it, or you should have asked me first. And then you're like, why does nobody care about SEO? There's a reason, because truly nobody cares about SEO, but you have to make people care. And that's where you start thinking about this in terms of, what can I prioritize that will get me a lot more buy-in? If I show people that it's fun, if I show tangible results, they're going to buy into it. It's kind of, I hate this metaphor, but it's the one that makes sense to me. If you tell someone to go on a diet and you're like, listen, you have to be healthy. You have to like get up early in the morning and you have to work out and you have to eat this and you don't have to eat that. And then you should stop eating at this point. People are like, okay, so I'm giving this my all, and you're telling me that this is going to be my life forever. And also that I should be patient because the weight loss is not going to happen. No, you have to build a diet where people lose the first few pounds rather fast, get excited, and it triggers them to continue going.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where I'm coming from with these processes, with thinking about frameworks. It's trying to make things repeatable, understandable, and easily communicated within the company, so that once you have explained it to the developer and they're actually on board, they can take it to their boss, or they can take it to someone else and go, I'm deprioritizing you because I swear to you, there's something bigger coming on and I can tell you why. So this is one element. Now, the selfish element. I get bored. I get fed up. I've been doing this so long that when you come to me and you're like, and I have a Shopify website, I already have this mental checklist in my brain of, and this is going to fuck up, and they obviously didn't do this, and there's that, and there's that. And you can take it with every platform. I see you nodding because you understand. Like, there's a point in this profession where you're like, oh, this CMS is going to cause us trouble. Oh, this content team that's doing just like fluff pieces and they don't align with what people want, we're going to have that problem. So you automatically create frameworks in your head because you know what's going to happen and you want to stop it. So it's kind of like being the captain of a ship. If you know the river well enough, you know what you should avoid, and you're not waiting for any radar or any signal or whatever. You know this is a danger, and it's built into your approach. You're not being reactive, you're being reactive and proactive.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that word that I love, proactive, not just reactive as a typical approach for some SEOs. Would you say you have a um onboarding process that you can share?
Oh, hell yes. So. Let's take it basic, okay?
Sure.
I'm not going to do something too complicated because it depends on the
Yeah.
industry, it depends on the size of the site, on the teams that are involved, on the reason why people are coming. So, first and foremost, to anyone listening, figure out, hey, are you actually like a freelancer? Are you agency side? Are you client side? These are three different situations, and you won't have the same processes, you won't have the same challenges, you won't have the same objectives. So of course your onboarding is going to be different, and you have to figure out who you're onboarding as well. So as I said, I'm known as a technical SEO. I have a lot of developers that actually seek me out going, we want to do SEO, but we're fed up with everything else we've been presented. This doesn't speak to us. We
Mm-hmm.
want the technical end. So of course the onboarding is different.
Yeah.
But you also have to consider, let's say that you're in an agency and you're crunched for time and you don't get to talk to the client because there's like a lot of red tape, and there's an account manager, and there's like a strategist telling you that I handle the client, and you're just executing.
Yeah.
You have to have your. I see this speaks to you because we have all been there, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a thing. So I have bare minimum things where I'm like, you don't even talk to me until you have this. So what is the this? I ask for what is the website I'm focusing on, and then there's one that nobody talks about. Are there any other websites I should be made aware of? Here's why. You will have, for example, with insurance companies, they will have other websites where they have copy pasted their content across because they have local branches, etc., but that have different domain names. So you
Yeah.
ask, okay? You ask for access to Google Analytics or whatever data thing you need. You ask access for Google Search Console, and I ask for 3 competitors, okay? On top of the regular stuff that you're going to get, which is what are your objectives, why are you here, etc. I ask for 3 competitors, and the way I explain it is I need one that is on par with you. I need one that is the competition that you're legitimately going after, and I need a big dream competitor. So in Canada, it's rather easy. I ask for local, which is what province you're in, or if you're, for example, in America, in the US, what state. Then I ask for a bigger one, so a federal one. Okay. And then I ask
Mm-hmm.
for the Disneyland. Like when you look at best practices in your industry, what do you dream about? Here's why. The local one helps you know, okay, so this is how you think of yourself, client. Okay, I get it. I get what the competition is. I can look at similar things. I can see where the baseline is at. And then the federal level or the bigger level, it helps me understand, okay, what are the industry best practices that we need to be aware of. And the Disneyland one, I can reverse engineer and understand what you like about it, what they've done that you're not aware of when you think, oh my goodness. Because the excuse is always like, they have more budget than us and they have a bigger team. I'm like, yes, but they're also the Titanic, meaning that if they start sinking, there's no saving that boat. They can't spin as fast as you can. You're more of a small Viking boat. You're fast. Yes, you can be sunk easily by the big one, but you can also run away fast. You can adapt. You can seize opportunities that others can't. So if you have a Titanic of a client, you do the reverse process, but still the same vibe. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the small, fast, nimble startup or challenger that you're weary of? Okay. So
Yeah.
these are the basics. And if somebody doesn't give you that, here's how you handle it politely. You go, very well. However, if I am not provided this information, I can work around it, but it will impact the quality of my deliverable and of the insights that I will be providing because, AKA, I'm missing stuff. So this is important, but there's there's a few other elements that you have to figure out when you're onboarding someone. Why are you here? Why are you here? Not every single deliverable you're going to offer is going to be the same. So one of the problems that I have with agencies is that it's basically the same. Like, having a process doesn't mean that you have to be cookie cutter. It doesn't mean that your audit should always look the same.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
figure out, are you here because there's a traffic drop? Are you here because there's a new launch of a product or like a service or whatnot? Are you here because the company is seeking continuous improvement and they feel that maybe some things have gone stale? So here I'm talking as if I were an agency because I'm a consultant, mind you. But internally as well, you have to figure out what is your challenge. And then there's the big, fat, hairy website relaunch. So if you're migrating anything, relaunching anything, you should know that you have to adapt your deliverables, your process, because this is the boat you're in now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you realize why you're here, then you have to figure out what the challenges are, because we all make that mistake. We all do. You think you're better than the previous guy. You're going to change everything. You're going to do it better. No, there's a reason why you are walking into a shit show of a situation. It's the product of multiple humans. So figure out, hey, internal stakeholders, what are their needs? What are their requirements? What are the fuck-witted things that they will keep asking you that you can't deliver, but you'll focus on that instead of doing the stuff you need to do?
Mm-hmm.
Figure out, is it UX, design, content issues to know? Maybe it's also dev issues, like who should you be friends with? And you need to figure out, are there processes currently that work, that are broken? What's going on? Are there no processes? And you need to figure out your stack. What are the problems that you're going to face based on the platform, the industry, the whatever?
Mm-hmm.
And once you have this, I'm going to go into something that nobody ever talks about, the shadow processes. So you need to figure out which teams you're going to be collaborating with and in what way. Okay, you need to figure out what are the collaboration styles. So is it total and utter chaos? Is it agile? Is it waterfall? Is it who do you know? So this is a problem. Let me explain. Shadow processes are you, for example, hearing in the meeting that the website relaunch will happen at this date, and you go and you sit down with the head of the dev team assigned to this, and you go, for real though, how long? And then the dev will look at you and go, yeah, that date, that's laughable. We told them another 6 months. They don't listen, but it's going to happen. So who do you adapt your processes for? What's your timeline? Me? I'm with the dev on that one. I trust that guy. I trust that person. 6 months, I plan for this. Because if you are building your framework around false or, let's say, alternative facts, it's not going to hold. You're just going to end up frustrated. So I'm going to give you one more example and we can move on from this. But I've had situations where I had some of my softwares be refused because I worked in a bank, and they were like, 3 months later, we are still validating what Screaming Frog is and if it's a potential danger to, yeah. You know how I got that installed? One of the guys in IT support thought I was cute and wanted to buy me a beer. And bless him, because I was like, you know what? You do you. I will buy you a beer, but I'm never sitting down and having that beer with you. But you are going to have the beer. I'm giving you the beer. The rest, figure your life out.
Yeah.
I'm not in the market for a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So I got it installed, and security never figured it out, and I was able to do my job. Shadow processes. How do you build relationships? How do you get this done? And sometimes these shadow processes, they work against you because you don't know they exist.
Yeah.
So maybe you're getting deprioritized and you don't know why. Probably because somebody else is better than you at this.
As an SEO consultant, I'm sure you see this all the time, where a brand comes to you with SEO needs, and they receive the recommendation strategy, whatever the deliverable is, but they don't know what to do with it from that point. There's almost as though they don't know what the next steps are, if that makes sense from their point of view. So let's say an internal stakeholders, how do you address that?
So first of all, let's look at the real problem, okay? The real problem is not even analysis paralysis. The real problem is we don't even know how to start. It's getting started. Like, everybody has time for strategy. Ain't
Yeah.
nobody got time to actually implement it.
Yep.
Like, this is a problem. So I'm gonna take you through a real long-term approach if you're a consultant or if you're an agency. The first thing you should know is, and then we're going to talk about internally. The first thing you should know is you need to prepare your clients. You need to say, okay, we're going to be working together for a year, let's say, or it can be 3 months. I don't care. You need to divide your time. You need a clear process to enable each team to collaborate with you and to function at their own pace. So that's why the client doesn't know how to get started. Because, okay, so there's a dev team saying that they are not going to be able to put this into their roadmap. And then there's a content team saying there's also this going on, etc. You need to figure out, okay, how can we get this done within what frame, like time frame? So let's say that you offer an approach that's like 3 sprints of 4 months each. Okay. So what do you do as an agency or a consultant for the first sprint? Don't get started going everywhere and doing strategy and telling them they need to do this. No, you need to audit stuff and you need to figure out what's going on. So you need to look at it from a holistic standpoint where you look at, okay, what is PPC doing? Because like, we need to tell the client SEO can save you some budget here. You need to work with that team. How can you leverage branding and social media to help you with SEO? How do you figure out what are the dev problems and why they haven't been fixed yet? Okay. So this is all the stuff where I will tell a client if it's a year approach, this is what I do. But I have some clients that are also just deliverable based. So we'll talk about that too. But you need to figure out how to maximize marketing efforts. Okay. So you do data analysis, you do audits, you wrap your mind around it. You have the foundation. So if a client wants to onboard with me, they have to go through an audit phase. I don't touch anything. I don't do strategy if I can't audit and figure it out, because otherwise I can't unfuck the problem. And then I ask them to set clear goals. So I'm like, one of the things I love to tell people is, hey, did you know there's 52 weeks in a year? So when you're coming around with all your like content plans and like, you know, like we're going to do so much, it's like a fan fiction here. It's not happening. So I'm like, 52 weeks. Tell me how you think about these weeks. And then you see the panic in their eyes.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, we're going to revisit this because first I can tell I'm going to have fun asking you about goals. Because clients I'm like, do you want more traffic, more visibility, more leads? And they're like, yes. I'm like, no. This is not how it works. If you want more visibility, you're going to have all the visibility in the world, which means that you may also get traffic that is not necessarily qualified, right? And it's more of a long-term endeavor. And if you want more traffic, once again, is it going to turn into leads, or do you want me to bring you traffic because I can write some cool content? Like, I can do fun all day. But if you want qualified traffic that will like generate leads, you have to tell me where you are at and what your pain point is. You can't just say yes. So you need to have them focused on one big goal. And once you have that, of course, you can go back and go, hey, so these are the audits we're going to do. This is how we're going to tailor our approach. And these are the deliverables I can propose. So if we go back to the year thing, sprint 1, research and analysis, and you're like, okay, content audit, link audit, competitor benchmark, keyword research, all the things we know. Sprint 2, it's the roadmap. So once you have validated some stuff with the client, you present the audits, you know how to work, because SEO agencies are cute. Like I'm cute too, huh? I have a client of mine, they're a government client, and like, oh, we love that approach. That's super cute. Legal is never gonna let us do that. Like, I was like, hey, you should optimize your footer. They're like, no, 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 no. The footer has been agreed upon like 45 agencies. We cannot
Mhm.
touch the footer, okay? Like, it's a highly regulated footer. And I'm like, holy crap. So once you figure this out, this is the moment where you get to talk about these things and go, okay, like I need to understand why certain things are not doable. You propose your roadmap. That's like the strategy and the quick wins. So back to my analogy of losing weight. This is where you're like, quick wins. I want to make you feel smart. I want to make that like Google Search Console graph, you know, the one all SEOs are obsessed with and will share without any context. You want that uptick. So back to the government client, I was like, hey, were you aware that you don't even do like HTTP to HTTPS properly? The site is duplicated because that's a security issue. And from a government standpoint, I'm even shocked that this flew. And they're like, ooh, oopsie. So they fixed it real fast because they know why. Okay. So I came with a few quick wins that were, I was like, your content team that hired me is being hindered by technical issues. It's not that their content is bad. It's doing awesome. It's just, we need this. So you implement this and you see the uptick really fast. Client believes in you now, or stakeholder believes in you now. And you're like, okay, so while I'm deploying this in parallel, I can actually work on the midterm and the long-term projects and I can propose something. So my way of operating is I will always do an audit that's delivered with a roadmap. And of course, if we continue beyond the audit, that roadmap needs to be prioritized by me from the SEO standpoint, you as the client, what you think, but we're also, if you're not technical, we're shopping this to the dev team going, hey, concretely, how
Yeah.
important are these features? What happens? And then you have like a priority matrix that makes sense.
Mhm.
And you should be operating in battles. So if you have a client, for me, I have many clients that work in clusters. So if it's e-commerce or anything else, content can, anything. E-commerce, you're going to have seasons where they're like, it's summertime now. Let's
Mhm.
go. That's your battle. It's
Yeah.
Black Friday. That's your battle. If it's informational content, you're like, hey, are you releasing this new section on the site? Are you trying to improve, let's say, like women's health, that section? Let's go. So you shouldn't be trying to do all the things all at once, but you should have a parallel track. The quick wins that you can implement and that everybody agrees upon that can be done fast. And then the stuff where it's either midterm to long term because you know that it's going to take a while for SEO, or it can bring a boom for you, like it can really work, but the problem is the red tape. So I don't care if it's fast in your head as an SEO. That's a midterm to long term project fighting for this. I
Yeah.
have a client of mine, 6 years to do a new site. They are still an Angular 1. 6 years of patience in building this thing. By the time they're like, we're ready to pull the trigger, because it's a huge company, I was like, I have 32 pages of specs. We can call them the SEO Bible at this point. Like, I'm ready. I've been ready.
Yeah.
So you have to figure this out. Now, back to your initial question on how do you get them going? The roadmap is key. Make it make sense to them and give them, like, you have to pretend you're Moses coming down with like the 10 commandments. Okay. This is the level of confidence you need to convey in your roadmap. There's no like, I'm not sure, maybe if we do this, it will seek results. You can't ask me that because Google always changes. No, you have to have a roadmap and going, okay, I will lead you through this. We can do this. We spoke to all the stakeholders. We spoke to all the teams. We know this is your tailored approach. I don't care what the competition is doing. We already benchmarked them. Remember, we did this. I understand that they came out with a shiny new bauble, but we have our roadmap. And once people feel like they're being led correctly, then stuff can get started.
Hmm.
So I hope I answered that question properly.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I'm I see now why, when I had a look at your LinkedIn, I saw you're a corporate trainer, and I saw that, I see that you have your background is also in education. You have a very open and warm way of explaining things, and it being very, well, the recipient wanting to receive what you're saying. I'm curious, as a corporate trainer. Actually, let me backtrack. What does corporate training in regards to SEO? What does that entail?
Ooh, so a lot of things. Let me explain. I'm never bored. I always have different challenges. And what I find very interesting is that um, now I'm the one who has to backtrack. There's two things when it comes to training people. People who laugh or are comfortable will learn better. I'm not here to show you how good of an SEO I am. I am here to make you feel like you can handle your SEO. And that's a very different starting point.
Yeah.
So I may not cover everything, but I will cover what you need. So that's the first element. The second thing is I don't go after people. People come to me. And there's a reason. It's because I focus on specific problems and I communicate about them and I try to help fix things. That's why I got into SEO. I was deeply upset at the fact that my own little website was not visible because obviously it was the best. So if I look at my clients, I'm like, obviously you're the best. Like, I don't care if you're not the best in your industry. I will find the shining elements in what you do well and tell you, hey, we need to go after this. So if developers come to me within a company going, we are fed up, we're being asked to do certain things and they're not clear to us, communication is bad, and we have marketing saying, do schema. Okay. Okay, so documentation, like I deal with issues like this where developers are like, we sell bathtubs in this company, and they're asking us to implement a schema where we can't give you that dimension for this product because that's not how a bathtub is measured, okay? So the schema is going to be rejected. And I'm like, huh. So here's how you should be thinking about schema. Here's how it works, and here's the best practice, but here's in French, we call that règle d'affaires, a business rule. So a best practice is whatever happens outside that people are really, they love talking about it and they love to say they're awesome. But does it apply to your business? If the answer is no, that's someone else's best practice. If it gets
Yep.
adopted, it's a business rule.
Mm.
So with this in mind, that's how I think about SEO. I'm like, okay, here's what you need. And I propose different modules to explain, okay, here's how you can interface better with this team. Here's the knowledge you need to have to support this team. So I don't do SEO training the way most people think about it. I will have agencies that come to me because, as you know, a year to a year and a half, and most of your team will have cycled out, and then you have new ones coming in, and they don't necessarily have the same knowledge, and you need to level them up fast. I am the Cyrano de Bergerac. I'm like the person with the big nose hiding in the bushes going, this is how you handle the client. So there's quite a few Canadian agencies, like big names, that have been trained by me, but I won't say who because that's part of the magic. You get to pretend that my knowledge is yours because at the end of the training it is. So there's this whole like how to have processes for agencies. There's this whole I'm a developer and I'm fed up with being asked to do something that I'm not interested in, but if I have to learn it, I want to learn it from you then because it's better. And then I have UX folks that come to me and go, okay, that search experience, like I spoke to a few SEOs and it's not helping us. It's really not helping us. This is not how we need to think about this. I don't know how to integrate this in my day to day. So that training is very, very different as well. It's a holistic approach to SEO where you're like, okay, I know where you're going and I know that SEO is not the main character, I guess. Yes, English is my third language. Please be kind. So it's this thing where you're like, I'm the supporting actress. I'm the supporting actor. Here's how I can make the star shine. And this is the problem that most people have with SEO training, is that they offer SEO training in a vacuum, okay, so I will teach you everything about SEO, even the bits that you don't need to know. And I will teach it to you in a very academic manner. So the problem with the academic manner is that imagine you're making a souffle, like a beautiful chocolate souffle. Okay. And then people explain to you how chemical reactions cause it to go up. But then they give you the whole chemistry training and you're like, I wanted to make a cake. No, take the best bits, explain how this relates to you, and then infuse it with grandma advice, which is check your oven because the temperatures are what cause it to go down, all the little tips and tricks. And you're like, I will show you the mechanism. I will explain to you so you feel smart to understand why this worked or failed. But I'm not going to burden you with all that extra stuff, that bloatware, that mental bloatware, just because I want to feel good about training. So I think this relates to everything we have spoken about. When you create processes or frameworks, you're cutting the fat. You're removing the bloatware. You're helping to focus on the things that matter and get people started. But there's also another element. It helps you. You don't have to keep repeating the same thing over and over again. Everything makes sense. Even if somebody loses their way or a new person comes in, you have your process. You can onboard them. There's no more gray areas. And this helps your mental load as an SEO. So, yeah.
Yeah, one of the issues one of the things I see within the industry is a lot of the SEO, it's almost as though folks are showing how great of an SEO they are. They take it as an opportunity to do that. And it's not necessarily appropriated for the business that needs or wants the SEO. Whereas what I'm gathering from what you're saying, SEO is required for whether you're an SEO within a business or you're a web developer, and you need to understand why understanding SEO appropriately for your needs is important for your role. How important do you think, if you like, SEO awareness or / training for non-SEOs will be in the coming years?
SEO is changing a lot, and I used to always welcome the changes because they seem to be very aligned with what humans needed. And with the advent of AI being in all the things, I think SEO training will mutate a lot. So currently, for example, one of the things that I'm really dead set on, for example, if you are part of a content team, I will show you how to do content tuning. You go into Google Search Console and you revisit your content and you try to better align with what Google thinks you answer well, or the opportunities left on the table. So, for example, I have taught copywriters to go back and go, oh, okay, people are looking for examples. I only give the best practices. Let me show tangible examples that they can understand better. Or I wrote an article many years ago about readability, and nobody cared about readability. Nobody. Accessibility, folks, and me. That was it. But you know what people cared about? The green light in Yoast, the green readability light. So I was like, okay, you want the green light? I will talk to you about that Yoast green light. I don't care. And then all of a sudden my article made sense and people wanted to check it out, and I had a lot more SEO traffic because I answered the genuine need. So sometimes you want to do the right thing for the right reasons, but you don't understand why people care about it. And even if they care about it for the wrong reasons, if you want people to care, align with what they need. So now that I spoke about this, I think everyone should think about the search experience. So not search engine optimization, but the search experience. And that experience is changing. So if we look at it from that standpoint, it will mean interfacing a lot more with bots than we thought about previously. So let's say that we're not going towards the content side, but more technical teams, but also content teams should care about schema, like helping machines better understand, remove the ambiguity of the content you're producing. So marking that stuff up is work between developers, but also business people, content people, like people that don't necessarily touch code, because you tell a developer, I want that schema, and they get back to you going, well, I'm no expert on bathtubs, but that's not a measurement for us. So you see where this can fail. This is why training should happen at different levels for different teams, but based on what their day-to-day is. You cannot ask people to make sacrifices in their jobs just to please you. You need to plug into what they do and adapt SEO that way. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Imagine somebody comes to you and says, I vaguely know what you do, but I'm going to need you to pause all of that, because here's this stack of work that I'm going to impose on you. And also, they're not part of your KPIs. They're not going to help you get a bonus at the end of the year. And I can't even tell you why it's important. Are you going to do it? Of course not.
No.
Of course not. Are you going to argue with that lunatic? Are you going to go, hey, I don't think I should. No, you don't say anything. You don't say shit. You just don't do it. The end.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, for me, I would say that people need to pay attention. The way I've tweaked my training, I'm not going to lie. I have some clients where I always end with a module, like it's a few hours of ChatGPT fun. Oh, you hate doing that part with SEO? Let me show you how you can ease the pain. Oh, you have this glaring problem. So I will literally give as a takeaway custom curated prompts that they can use safely, because we know LLMs are the equivalent of having a toddler trying to stick their wet fingers into the power socket. Like, you don't know. You don't want them to do things that can cause them harm. So I would rather, instead of pretending LLMs don't exist, I will show you how to responsibly produce certain things. I will teach you some of the caveats where you have to be careful, okay? And I will make sure that you don't burn the souffle on top of make it go flat. Like, I'm here to make sure that people can do the work they need to do in a way where they feel smart, but also encouraged to keep going. So this is where the mutation comes, I think, where search is going to change fundamentally, is going to bring new challenges. It's going to also put quite a few people out of business, because if you're doing SEO in a specific way that was siloed, that only cares about, like my own performance, it's not going to happen. I also predict that PPC is going to be an issue, because PPC folks, they have their metrics. They will actually destroy organic search just to say, we achieved what the client wanted. We spent the money. And it's like, you're not going to be able to do that anymore. So good luck. So yeah, what's your opinion?
I think the next, as early as a few months to 3 years at the most, is going to be the most drastic change that we will see in search. And I mean search overall, not just SEO, PPC. I look at it in terms, search period. I look at it in terms of Google or search, the user, and also the marketer. I think the change is going to affect those three areas and the way they interact with each other. I think when I saw the Google I/O presentation, I was blown away. The first thing I noticed when they presented their search outlook was how the AI in search pushes organic results down. As an SEO, that was the first thing I noticed. I just thought to myself, oh, wow, organic results aren't even within the screen at all. So what are Google doing? They're essentially encouraging their users to navigate with AI. Now, if that is the case, that automatically changes everything within the industry. I mean, think of what search ranking tools are thinking behind the screens right now, right? How are they going to adapt to this? It's going to fundamentally change how people search, which means what they present in search will need to change. And this is where I think, so I've been working very closely with Calicube and Jason Bernard and the Calicube team. And his approach to search is what I think a lot of people will have to adopt, in that they SEOs will have to be very much brand focused and have to encourage websites to be known within Google's knowledge vault. Similar to the way Google is aware of, let's say, Wikipedia, IMDb, all these databases, websites will need to take that approach and be more brand led in order to be discovered within the AI, if you like, system. I think all of that is going to change everything. The way SEOs behave, the way marketers behave, what users expect from Google. And also, when I think of the way users interact within social media, they almost expect Google to behave like social media. And I think that is what's influencing Google themselves to change the way search is, because they want to keep people on search in the first place. So all of this is just fascinating to me. I haven't been this excited about SEO probably since I got into the industry. It's because I see the entire thing changing. And for me, I do believe it's going to impact, essentially it's going to impact jobs, SEO jobs. But I think there'll be the demand for SEO is going to increase, not decrease.
See, for me, I think I have more of a gloom and doom approach, but it's because I've been around for a while. For me, what I don't like, and I really like Google I/O. For once, I wasn't bored. Like, I was like, okay, you put this together. It's not like a slapdash. Let's go. And I paid attention to one sentence where they said, we will give content creators the choice. And it's like, you really haven't thought this through, have you? Because I have some clients who are like, we're legally not allowed to make our content available to LLMs, because if this thing crafts an answer that gives bad legal advice based on our content, because it interpreted our content, we could be liable. We can't do that. And there's this other element of, why would I fix a large language model's blind spots with my knowledge to get the privilege of being a footnote in the answer, a little like number 2 or number 3 reference? How about I make that content gated once again and make you pay for knowledge? Because it really redefines our understanding of understanding. These things are very good at guessing what the next word is going to be, which is how it ties to training as well. It's how we have evaluated and tested knowledge, like our assimilation of knowledge. It's a proxy. Like, if you do your essay right and you have an intro and a conclusion and it's well structured, or if your SEO content has a good H1 and H2 and that speaks to it, then the content should be good. And this is what we've done to it. We've produced crap content online just to rank. It hasn't been good content. We just replicate like some damaging information as well. Like, if you have pets, holy crap, some of the advice that pops up is not good. And you see 15 sites with that. And you're like, So now Google is going, we know there's a problem. We know we've been losing market shares because the results are not what people expect. So let us solve the problem we have created by creating another problem, because AI is going to answer all the things. And you're like, not for all use cases, but also the content creator economy. Why would you create content if you don't get traffic and if you don't make money off of it? So I predict, as you say, that there's a lot of branding that's going to happen here, but it's also going back to the old school internet, like the 1.0, where it was forums, it was dedicated, gated communities, it was interest led, and people had to know the brand to onboard into it. And when I say know the brand, like know the forum, know this, know that. And we can see it with search. When people look for reviews, they type Reddit at the end.
Hmm.
Communities are going to get bigger and bigger because I think there's going to be two parallel tracks. Hyper personalized, like as you said, search that you can interact with. But there's also going to be the I'm fed up with algorithms. I'm fed up of being fed that loop. Like if you're on TikTok and you're depressed and you start watching depression tips, they never let you go. You can do better. Doesn't matter. They're still going to show you that content. You're stuck.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be more of that human garden type of thing. And we saw this with Facebook. But the problem with Facebook is that they wanted you to remain forever friends and tied to everyone you had ever met. And that's not how human relationships work either. So I think, as you said, like the relationship with a brand and some of that social aspect, so not social media, like the social aspect will be very, very important. And for me, this means rethinking the customer journey as well. So that impacts the processes. Let me just finish with that.
Yeah.
Why would a company pay you in a silo? Figure out the customer journey and figure out where SEO search genuinely matters. If people are hanging out over on TikTok, or if people are specifically looking for Reddit, maybe part of the search experience would be to be present where people are looking for you. And if your agency doesn't offer that service, or if in-house it's not your team, you need to collaborate with them. You need to integrate this in the customer journey instead of saying, we have to be present at all points along the, and you don't even say customer journey, you say funnel. No, the funnel is your thing. The customer journey is what genuinely happens out there. So modulating the way you think about your roadmap in regards to, okay, so this brand thing, we don't own it. Like we know that it's another department, or we don't own it because we know that our brand is being discussed on other platforms. What do we do? How do we start owning that? And then going, okay, so some of these informational searches, how important are they? Am I feeding the LLM? Yes. Do I get a benefit? Yes. No. Figure it out. And look at every single step in the journey and figure out, how does SEO integrate into it? How can I be smarter with my budget? And when we say budget, it's like resources, time, money. And I think this harkens back to what you said. Search is going to fundamentally change. And I'm not against it because I've been bored for a while now. I love new changes, new challenges. But I want it to serve the humans and not the corporations. So that's the part that I'm wearily looking at.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I think if Google wants to remain on top, and they do have the best chance of remaining leaders within search, but they have to adapt to users, and they have to adapt quickly to users, because I do think they'll lose market share, because I think people will start to think of search as in, I want to search on the platform that I am on. And that will lead to other platforms wanting to essentially outperform Google from a search point of view and a content result quality point of view. Go ahead.
So hear me out, because in Google I/O, there was one thing I was excited about. They're making BART available to websites. So what I've seen lately, there's quite a few websites that will install ChatGPT, and they're like, here's the search experience on our site, and you can ask questions based on our entire archive of articles. So exactly what you said, but Google has been smart and has been like, listen, we are making your own data searchable in a way that you would enjoy. So once again, it goes back to branding. I think that the search experience is not going to be like SEO and then internal search. It's just going to be search, period. And what platform? I'm here for this. I'm excited to see this.
As am I. As am I. Myriam, thank you so much for your time. Go ahead.
Last but not least, how long has it been since you and I have said, but have you checked out Bing? Like, that has been an exciting thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Myriam, thank you so much for your time today. It's been fascinating speaking with you. I love hearing your voice on the podcast, and I can listen to you pretty much all day, but I'm just conscious of time. You've been amazing. You've provided so much information and insights into processes. Where can people find you online if they want to hear more from you?
So I used to be super active on Twitter and I really enjoyed it. However, I'm no longer on there for very good reasons. You can find me on LinkedIn. I know this is the cubicle of social media platforms, but you can find me on there. Just look for Myriam Jessier. And another few things you should know is you can find me. Sometimes I will publish articles on Smashing Magazine, the Wix Hub, on Crawl. So whenever I want to complain about something, I don't do it on my blog. I go somewhere else. So just look for me online.
Google your name.
Pretty much.
Myriam, thank you so much for your time today. Have a brilliant day, and we'll catch up again at another time.
Merci, au revoir.
Cheers. Bye now.